Today's League Lowdown leads us to continental Europe this time and to the bohemian jewel of the Czech Republic. With its medieval capital Prague poised resplendently on the banks of the Vltava River. This is a nation famed for its fabulous Pilsner and world-renowned breweries, as well as the production of functional automobiles and its highly educated population. This is where you'll find bustling town squares, impressive timepieces, and more castles than the Disney back catalogue. The Czechs are an active bunch and many of them have risen to global prominence, whether that be on the catwalk or the tennis court, out on the ice rink, or just hunting for fungi on St. Wenceslas Day. But across the towns and cities of the Czech Republic, from Ostrava to Liberec and all the way to Pilsen, football has long reigned supreme as the national game, and it's a great destination for fans of Football Manager. But who are the leading clubs? And who are the main challengers? Which teams have fallen from grace? And which lower league clubs serve the best sausages? We'll examine all in the League Lowdown Guide to the Czech Republic. So it's time for another League Lowdown, and the focus of this edition is going to be the Czech Republic. Now, this is a nation that has long punched above its weight in international football, both back when it was still part of Czechoslovakia and since the formation of the Czech Republic in the early 90s. So, without further ado, let's have a look at the league structure in this country. So this is the top division in the Czech Republic. On the face of it, a pretty simple setup, complicated a little bit by some of the changes they've had to make to accommodate the disruption to the league campaign during the last season. So for this season, it's going to be an 18-team top division, with teams playing each other home and away across a 34-game season. Typically, the Czech top flight would only have 16 teams in it, but due to the disruptions of last year, 2 teams were promoted from the playable second division, and no teams were relegated out of it. In order to get the number of teams back down to 16, well, for this campaign, they're going to relegate 3 teams out of the top flight, and only 1 club is actually going to get promoted from the playable division below. So normally there'd be 2 automatic promotion spots plus playoff places to compete for as well. There's only 14 teams in the second tier for this season. That's going to be rectified for the second campaign that you might play in Football Manager, as well as the 2 playable top divisions. You've got the Czech FA Cup to compete for as well. But that's how the league structure's looking in the Czech Republic. Let's jump straight into having a look at some of the top clubs you might like to take charge of. Let's start our tour of the top clubs in the Czech Republic by focusing on Sparta Prague. This is the club that was the most successful during the Czechoslovakia era and also have the most league titles since the formation of the Czech Republic. They've got a nigh on 19,000 capacity Letna Stadium, and if we have a look at their trophy cabinet, you'll see they've won the Czech League 12 times. In fact, they won 9 out of the first 10 seasons since the formation of the Czech League. Bit of a barren run now though, having not won the league title since 2014. We can also throw into the mix 7 Czech Cups, including last season's, as well as 21 Czechoslovakian titles when that league was active. So you can see that they are a club with a rich history. If we have a look at their facilities, you'll see that developing youth talent is certainly a possibility, with excellent training facilities, excellent youth facilities, excellent academy coaching. Although just good youth recruitment, this is also a club that has been competitive in European competitions as well. During the early years of the Champions League, they reached the semi-finals of that competition in the 1991-92 season, and way back in the 1970s, they also reached the semis of the UEFA Cup. So it's a club that's gone deep in European competitions. But they're not the only team from Prague that has a rich history that it can boast. And that's because the second most decorated team from this nation also hail from their capital, and that team is Slavia, who've got a similar sized stadium, which holds just over 20,000 fans. And if we have a look at their history, you'll see that they are now up to 6 Czech titles, but 3 of those have come in the last 4 years, and they've won back-to-back titles over the last 2. We can add to that 5 Czech FA Cup titles as well, and they've also won 13 Czechoslovakia titles further back in their history. You throw in similarly impressive European form, having reached the semi-finals of the UEFA Cup back in 1996 and the semi-finals of the Europa League back in 2019, you can see that Slavia Prague are a club that continues to be competitive at the very highest level. If we check out the facilities they've got, it's a similar story to their rivals. They've got excellent training facilities, excellent youth facilities, excellent academy coaching, and good youth recruitment. And this is a club that has produced the likes of talents such as Patrick Berger and Vladimir Smitsa, whereas their rival Sparta have produced the likes of Thomas Rosicki and Jan Koller. So plenty of Czech internationals are being produced by these 2 top clubs, but there is a third emerging force in Czech football right now. And that emerging force are Viktoria Pilsen, whose stadium is not quite as big. It holds just under 12,000 fans, and in the Czechoslovakian era of football, they weren't a particular dominant club. They reached a final of the Czechoslovakian Cup in the early 70s, but no titles really to boast. But over the last few years, they have started to amass some silverware. So in addition to winning the Czech FA Cup in 2010, they've also won the league 5 times between 2011 and 2018. So you can see that this is definitely a club that can take on Prague's most dominant teams. They've got great training facilities, great youth facilities, good academy coaching and good youth recruitment. So you can see that this is definitely a club that on its day is capable of robbing league titles from Sparta and Slavia. But there are some other, slightly smaller clubs that pose a challenge occasionally to these big 3 teams in the Czech Republic. So the first of those is Slovan Liberec, a club with roots in the German community of Liberec, but in the 1950s they adopted the name Slovan to give them a more Czech identity. You'll see that they've got a stadium that holds just under 10,000 fans, and outside of the big 3, well, this is the Czech Republic's most successful club. They've won the FA Cup 2 times, but you'll see impressively, they've managed to rob the league title on 3 occasions from some of the bigger teams in the Czech Republic, winning it in 2002, 2006 and 2012 as well. This was a club that during the Czechoslovakia era didn't really experience a whole lot of success and often wasn't competing in the highest division during that iteration of football in the region. So if you like the idea of taking charge of a club that has proven that it can take on the biggest teams in the nation, but would certainly provide you more of a challenge than taking on one of the big 3, well, Liberec are definitely one of the clubs that might interest you. But another is Baník Ostrava. Now this is a club that did experience some success during the Czechoslovakian era of football in this area. They won the Czechoslovakian title 3 times. They've got a 15,000 capacity stadium. This is the club that produced talent such as Milan Baros, who went on to play in Champions League finals for Liverpool, and they've also won the Czech FA Cup on 1 occasion, way back in 2005, and they've won the Czech League the year before as well. So this is another big player in Czech football. They've even reached the quarter-final of European competition back in 1981, when they were eventually knocked out of the UEFA Cup by Bayern Munich. So this is a club that has proven it is capable of competing on its day with some of the best clubs on the continent. Again, it's a tougher challenge than taking charge of Sparta or Slavia, but a tougher challenge is what lots of fans of Football Manager are looking for. But if you're looking for a tougher challenge, what about taking charge of one of the other teams from Prague? In the top flight, you'll find Bohemians, who were founded in 1905. They've got a just over 6,000 capacity stadium. The kangaroo on their badge is the legacy of a tour of Australia the club embarked on in the 1920s. And if we peek into their trophy cabinet, you'll see it's still waiting to be filled during the Czech era, but back in the early 80s, they did win the Czechoslovakian title, and they've also got quite a famous player from their history as well, Antonin Panenka. He, of the cheeky penalty chip, played for this club and went on to become chairman as well. If you like the idea of taking charge of a top division club, but starting out at one that's not fancied for the title and a club that you can build and develop, well, Bohemians are an attractive proposition. But arguably a tougher challenge might be to start out in the playable second tier and see if you can take a club from that level all the way to the top of the domestic game. A club that has been at that level before is Dukla Prague. They've got an 8,000 capacity stadium, and their history will show you that they don't have any trophies since the formation of the Czech League. But back in the Czechoslovakia era, this club were one of the finest, winning that title 11 times. They reached the 1967 semi-finals of the European Cup, and they also reached the semi-finals of the 1986 UEFA Cup. Their facilities are not spectacular. They've got good training facilities, good youth facilities, and adequate academy coaching and average youth recruitment. This is definitely a club that you would have to build if you wanted to take them back to the top flight, which they were relegated from in the 2018-19 season. But way back in history, this is a club that was dominant in the nation, and surely would be a great challenge for a fan of Football Manager that wants to restore a formerly glorious name. But there are clubs outside of the capital that are also crying out for a manager to take them back to their former glory, and one of those is Hradec Králové, who, playing just a 7,000 capacity stadium, and are another team that experienced some success during the Czechoslovakian era, winning that title in the 1959-60 campaign, and then a season later went on to reach the quarter-final of the European Cup before eventually bowing out to Barcelona. You'll see that even during the Czech era, this is a club that won the Czech Cup in 1995 and has played at the top division, but they're currently languishing in the second tier. Maybe taking them back to the top of Czech football might be the kind of challenge that you're looking for. And a similar sized challenge awaits you if you decide to take charge of Viktoria Žižkov. Similarly, they are in the Czech second tier. Their stadium holds just over 5,000 fans, but they are a grand old club founded in 1903. And if you go back into the 1920s, they were the champions of Czechoslovakia, but they also have some more recent titles as well. They won the Czech Cup in 1994, winning it again in 2001, but they're now languishing down in the second tier. If you're looking for a club that has been at the top of the national game, that you can drag from the lowest playable division in Football Manager and restore to its former glory, well, Viktoria Žižkov are definitely a club worthy of your consideration. But if you're looking for an even smaller club and a challenge that's a little bit out of the ordinary, why not take charge of a team in the second tier that have no real history of note? What about FK Blansko, who have never played in the top division? In fact, this is the highest level they've ever been at in their short history, having only been founded in 2004. But this club are quite notorious. A popular blog follows their exploits, written by some British expats that live in the Czech Republic. Why did they pick this team to focus on? Well, as folklore would have it, FK Blansko are the lower league Czech team that have the finest beer and sausages. So if ale and high quality pork products are what you look for when you're selecting your next Football Manager challenge, then Blansko are definitely a team worthy of your consideration, and it would be a tough challenge to take them to the top of the Czech game. And what was our source for this hot tip on who you could take charge of? None other than FM Greeno, the wise old owl of Eastern European football. And we're going to put links to his own YouTube channel in the video description below. So that completes the League Lowdown guide to the Czech Republic. This is definitely a nation that offers a challenge for anybody that wants to create a club that can dominate continental competition. Or maybe the challenge for you is to take charge of one of those teams from the second tier and insert them at the top of the domestic game. We're going to see you very soon because we're going to pick another nation to make the focus of our next League Lowdown.